Hi, my name is James Shepard, and we're in the middle of a mini-series on success and how to build a business from scratch. And today I want to talk to you about one of the most important skills that's going to be necessary for you to accomplish big things. And that skill is the skill to be broke. How to be broke. How do you do that? A lot of people ask me, they're like, James, how do you go from making $100,000 a year to making $30,000 a year for a year or two in order to really go through that building phase to build up your business? Because of course, over the long run, you're going to make more money, you're going to be more successful, you're going to have more flexibility, more freedom, but there is that period of time of sacrifice, and during that period of time, there may be times where you're going to be broke. You're going to try something out with your business that's not going to work. You're going to invest money and lose it. How can you be broke in business and still survive and make it and get through to the point where you're really successful? And I have some really specific tips for you today. To be really honest with you, I have been reading business books, watching content about business for 15 years. Never have I heard a video, a podcast episode, or a book that talks about this. And I think one of the main reasons is because people that are successful, they don't ever want to admit or talk about the time before they were successful. They want to present this fake persona of, I just had this smooth ride to success. Well, I'm here to tell you, I've not had a smooth ride to success. I have had my electricity shut off. I have paid my rent late, okay? I have done these things that are like, man, when you're broke, you're just trying to scratch through and make it. Success is hard. Building a business from scratch is hard. And a lot of times you're gonna be broke. Now, some of you out there are like, not me, I've got, $500,000 in the bank. Good for you. That's awesome. I'm excited for you. But for many of you watching, that's just simply not the case. So what do you do? Well, I want to give you a couple really specific tips. The first tip that I can give you is always make a plan. And when your plan doesn't work out, make another plan. So when it comes to your personal finances and dealing with being broke, dealing with not having a lot of money, the most important thing that you can do is to make a plan. Now, a lot of people, what happens is they try to just ignore reality. And they're like, I'm just not even gonna, worry about that. I'm not even gonna think about the fact that, my electricity is gonna be late. I'm not gonna think about the fact that my, rent's gonna be late. And so they just try to ignore those problems. Well, those types of problems, when you ignore them, they get exponentially worse. And it's actually not keeping you from thinking about it. You're probably thinking about it constantly, which when you get out in the field is making you sound desperate. And that's a huge problem. I made a video about that like a week or so ago about desperation. And so, you can't be desperate and make sales at the same time. So what's the solution? The solution is to sit down and make a plan. Just figure out what you're going to do. And I'll tell you something, one of the things I do every morning when I wake up in the morning is I try to imagine, I know it's going to sound like crazy to some of you, but I literally try to imagine that my family and I are living in a mud hut in Africa or somewhere in somewhere that's a poverty-stricken area, some of these areas in Mexico where there's literally just nothing, and we live in a mud hut, we have nothing. And I try to think about that for a second, and what that does for me is it helps me to understand that my worst case scenario really isn't that bad. The worst thing that can happen to me is just really not that bad. If my family is healthy, the people I care about are healthy, if I have my health, if I'm able to get up and go to work, then life is good. Things are not really that bad. And if I lived in a mud hut somewhere and I was, trying to find food and trying to find water and didn't have any running water to take a shower, those are things every morning I get up for it and I'm thankful for it. I've been thankful for those every morning when, I was broke. I'm thankful for them now that I'm not broke. And so you got to be thankful for those little things and then make a plan. Embrace reality. Instead of saying, well, I'm not going to pay that bill late. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to pay the bill late. Well, you are. So why don't you just plan it out and say, okay, hold on a second. What's going to happen here? When am I going to pay this bill? Make a plan. That's the first thing you have to do is just make a plan. And even if that plan is maybe not your first choice, it's not what you really wanted, you didn't really want to write down on paper that you're going to be late on this or late on that. Once you have a plan, then you can do the next step, which is the most important one, which is you can communicate your plan. You can communicate your plan. When I was making those videos way back, my grainy videos and stuff like that, there were times where the house I was living in when I was shooting those videos where I was making my rent probably, I'm sure a couple times I was 60 days late on rent. Now, a lot of people would have gotten evicted if they were 60 days late, but I had a plan and I went to my landlord and I talked to my landlord like a couple times a month. Hey, I'm building a business. You can talk to anybody that knows me. They will tell you I will pay this. I will make sure that this is made right, but I can only pay half right now. I can only pay $100, whatever it was, right? I go make a sale. I go pay part of the rent. Like, I made a plan, right? I also communicated that plan to the people in my life that I cared about. For instance, my wife, Christina. Many people end up getting divorced through that building phase of whatever it is they're trying to build because they feel so desperate and they're like, well, I just have to make it. I have to make it. But you have to communicate with your spouse. You have to communicate with your kids, with whoever, the people that matter to you that are affected by your decision. Take responsibility for your decision and own up to it and say, hey, I'm the one that wanted to start this business. And I had this conversation with Christina. She'll tell you many times we had this conversation. I mean, we had gotten married, I guess, about 3 years before that or so, maybe 2 years before, or 2 or 3 years before. And, the idea was she married somebody that was making $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year. Well, then a few years later, I'm making $30,000. That's a really, really big change, right? Now, how do we get through that? How are we still together? Well, a couple things. Number one, we knew from day one, I told her my marriage is more important than this venture that I'm on because I have a long life. I can accomplish my ambitions way down the road if I need to. So I'm fine. I'll be patient. But, right now I want to do this business. But if it ever gets too much, you just let me know. Done. I'll close it down and go get a job tomorrow. And I really meant that. And the other thing I did, though, is I communicated with her as best I could. I didn't always do a very good job at it because sometimes you're so stressed and everything. But I did the best job I could, and I did communicate and said, hey, we have to have a difficult conversation. The car that we have, we're going to have to get rid of that, and I'm going to have to go buy kind of a junker because I can't afford the car payments anymore. Like, those are conversations you have to have. Hey, I wanted you to know that the rent is late. So in case I get some kind of a notice on the door or something, you don't feel like I'm lying to you. This is what's happening right now. I don't have enough money to pay it. And so having those conversations, but again, you have to embrace reality first. So if you're broke right now, or you watch this video later and you're broke and you're like, I really want to build my business, the key things I'll tell you today are these two main tips are make your plan. So just have a plan, and again, your plan may be a terrible plan, maybe like, oh no, what I mean? Like, what in the world? But embrace the reality of it. Whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen. Embrace the reality of it, right? And just say, okay, this is what it is. You know what I mean? It was funny. I remember a while back, Christine and I, we were sitting in church, and we had just been going through a terrible time financially and, early on in our business. And, we literally had so many bad things happening to us. And we had this guy get up and he was preaching. He was like a visiting preacher or whatever. And I can't remember who he was. But anyway, he was talking about how he had this really bad day and how he had I think his hot water heater broke. And then he got out to his car and something happened with his car or whatever. Anyway, he was describing this terrible day and how he was so depressed about it and everything and how he really had to pray to kind of lift his spirits. And I looked over at Christine and I said, is it just me, or does that sound like the best day we've had in the last year? And she's like, oh, I would kill to have a day like that. If all that went wrong was that'd be great. Sometimes, boy, when you're trying to build something big, you're going to go through some difficult times and you're going to get attacked by enemies. You're going to get attacked by people. And so you're going to go through some tough times. And when you go through those tough times, you want to come out the other end with the people that you care about. And you want to come out the other end with those lessons learned and with that leverage that you've been trying to build. And so sometimes that means you're going to be broke. If you're broke, make a plan, embrace the reality. Stop this video right now and stop hiding under the covers from the reality of your life and embrace it. Make a plan. Then communicate that plan to everybody that is affected by it, right? Everybody that's affected by it, communicate that plan. And as long as you have that strong belief, like I talked about in the last video, and you know for sure that it is going to work out, that you are going to make it, if you communicate your plan to people and that confidence to people, there are going to be people who are going to believe in you, and you can look at being broke as such a blessing, because when you come out the other side, guess what you're going to know? You're going to know who your real friends are. You're going to know who really cares about you, and you're going to know that you can make it no matter what you go through. My name is James Shepard. Hope you have an awesome day.